We are turning left into Victoria Street, and on the right, the red brick building is Belfast's Old Town Hall, recently used as a courthouse and now lying vacant. Maybe someone should open a pub in it. Next on the left, you can see a yellow featured fountain, which is the Jaffa Memorial at the entrance to Victoria Square Shopping Mall. Lord Jaffa was the first and so far the only Jewish Lord Mayor of Belfast. After the memorial is Bittles Bar, the thinnest bar in Belfast. In front of us, we can see the Albert Memorial Clock Tower, known as Belfast's answer to the Leaning Tower of Pisa. The clock tilts to the right and also towards us. The reason for the tilt is because where the clock stands was once where the River Farset ran. The river was diverted and the marshy land was reclaimed, but the clock tower was built on a foundation of wooden beams, which eventually rotted and the clock tilted. Local people will tell you a different story, and that is because this is the area of the old docks of Belfast where the Victorian Red Light District was. It is said the ladies of the night would lean against the clock waiting for the sailors to arrive, and that this pushed the clock over. On the left is the Custom House and Custom House Square. This was a good place to have. We are now crossing the Queen Elizabeth Bridge that takes us over the River Lagan, the largest river in Belfast, which flows into Belfast Lough on our left. We are going to turn left into Queen's Island, and in front of us we can see Belfast's Millennium Project, which is the home of the Odyssey complex. The complex includes a bowling alley, a cinema, various restaurants and pubs, plus an arena. The arena is an ice rink, and is the home of the Belfast Giants ice hockey team. Ice hockey is the first cross-community sport in Belfast, and the Giants are a very successful team, which has performed extremely well in the UK's Elite Ice Hockey League. Why is this? Well, the Giants employ Americans and Canadians to come and play for us, as they are really good at it. At one point, when deciding on a name for the team, the name Belfast Bombers was proposed, but it was decided against for obvious reasons. We are now driving into the Titanic Quarter, named after the ill-fated liner, the Titanic. The Titanic sank on the 14th of April 1912, but despite this terrible tragedy, there is the SS Nomadic, the only remaining ship still afloat from the White Star Line. This ship was built to shuttle mail, baggage and passengers to the Titanic and its sister ship, the Olympic, when they were at Cherbourg, as these large ships themselves were too big to dock in the French port. Tours of the Nomadic are available. Building in the shape of a star is the Titanic Experience Building, which is a huge tourist attraction. It has a tour explaining everything about the Titanic, from its conception to its tragic sinking on its maiden voyage. The red brick building on the left is the old drawing rooms of the shipyard, which is where the Titanic was designed. Today, this building has been transformed into a hotel named the Titanic Hotel. It is very popular with wedding parties, and, believe it or not, people have been known to have a few beverages at an Irish wedding, and maybe even enjoy themselves a bit. The large grey building on the left is Titanic Studios, and this was once the paint room for the shipyard. It is now a movie studio, and amongst other productions, this is where a lot of the Game of Thrones interior sets were filmed by HBO. Belfast has become a great place to make movies and TV shows over the last 20 years or more, and is fast becoming the Hollywood of Europe. On your left, you will see the HMS Caroline, which is the only still floating warship from the Battle of Jutland in 1916 during the First World War. It was used as a cadet training vessel for a time, and it is below it. This is where the Titanic was fitted out with the likes of its grand staircase and luxury cabins, before leaving Belfast for sea trials. As we turn back towards the city centre, on the left you can see the huge yellow cranes of the shipyard. These were once the largest cranes in the world, and are called Samson and Goliath after the biblical characters. They were not used to construct the Titanic, as they were only built here in 1969 and 1972. They were brought here by Aristotle Onassis, who famously married JFK's wife, Jackie. Onassis built the first oil supertankers here in Belfast using these cranes. They had become Belfast's answer to the Eiffel Tower, and Belfast City Council has now designated them structures of architecture. On the left you can see the British Telecom building, which has no windows on the ground floor, and parts of the building have its windows boarded up. This is an example of a government building from the 1980s and 1990s, very heavily fortified and built to take minimum damage from a bomb blast. We will be travelling along the rear of City Hall and turning left into Bedford Street. Which has seen many performances from bands like the Rolling Stones, AC/DC, Simple Minds and Ruby Murray. It is where Led Zeppelin first performed Stairway to Heaven. It has also been a venue for political meetings, boxing matches, and has even hosted beer festivals. After the Ulster Hall, as we approach the traffic lights, is the BBC Northern Ireland headquarters. Peace wall of many across Belfast. We are now crossing over from the Republican Falls area into the Loyalist Shankill area. As soon as we cross the peace line, it is immediately apparent that we are in a Loyalist area, as the murals to the right of the bus show Union flags and memorials of the First and Second World Wars. Before taking a look at Loyalist Shankill, we are going to travel along the peace wall to give you an idea of its scale. The peace walls were built by the British Army back in 1969, when the army had been called into Northern Ireland at the request of the Republican side of the community to protect them from the Loyalist side of the community. Not knowing what to do with the two communities who were trying to kill each other, the army decided just to keep them apart, and they started building temporary peace lines, mostly using corrugated iron walls. Soon they realised they would need stronger walls and started to build them from reinforced concrete.